Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everyone had an amazing week this week. Business is starting to get cranked up a little bit. I hope everyone experienced that as well. Um, Welcome to Creating Opportunities. I'm your host, Bill Haga, Executive Loan Officer with Rocket Mortgage Local. I always stress local because my pricing is a lot better than our call center. It's at least better by at least 1%. So that's huge on a $400,000 purchase, right? That's about a $4,000 savings off the top. So utilize me versus allowing your clients to go to the online experience with our call center. All right, makes more sense. Creating opportunities is all about figuring out ways that we can work together and grow your business. Okay, we have a lot of programs that can help in certain circumstances. Um, we've got a lot of things that are really, starting to show up and really produce a lot of results. So I want to make sure that I share those with you. In today's agenda, we're going to talk about interest rates. Yes, interest rates, they're starting to come down. Thank God. Can't wait for that. Some wins and losses for the week. Yes, we're going to cover both and talk about some scenarios that didn't work out and why they didn't work out. Okay. Opting your clients out before starting the process. That's an ugly ordeal. Programs that can solve your buyer's contingencies and our verified approval letters. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So last week on Friday, interest rates dropped anywhere from 0.125 to 0.375. Now, on a $400,000 purchase, it's anywhere from $500 to $1,500. But what happens with the pricing once it starts to drop, the cost of the rate lowers. That means the next lowest rate comes available. So, in a sense, rates drop because of that. All right. Now, there's a lot of things that can cause the rates to go up and down, but mainly it's because of the market, right? Employment, inflation, those types of things. And then it can truly just be a comment from, our Fed Chair Powell stating that based off of, the data that he's looking at now could open up a possible rate cut in the future. When that happens, rates drop right that moment, right? That day, if not the next morning, because the market's already anticipating on the rates to go down. So they're talking about cutting rates here at the end of the month. And what could happen is the market can over adjust, right? So once again, rates have already dropped, probably about 50 basis points. Um, and at that point in time, like I said, those lower rates start to come available. So it's extremely important to understand the market and what's happening. Okay. And I'll get to that here in a few minutes. But as we talk about interest rates, we've got more and more people coming into the market because these rates are starting to lower, right? You're starting to hear it on the news. Bad thing about the news, it's always, a day or two late. Everything's already happened. So you got to make sure that, when it happens, you're reacting. So on my side, like for the past, I don't know, I'd say couple months, any file that comes in, I've been really monitoring the rates and I haven't been locking the rates because once again, if the rate's lower, I'm trying to get a better deal for our clients, right? And based off the economic data that's coming through, I mean, that's kind of in the I guess the area that we're in, the rates are going to start to drop. Okay. So on my side, I'm trying to take advantage of that. So one of the wins that we'll talk about here in a little bit, I'll get to, is an opportunity that I had to lower somebody's rates and save them money and all that. And we'll get to that here in a second once we get done with the rates. But with these rates going down, This is going to open up a lot of opportunities. Okay. So the first opportunity is going to be obviously with your current clients. However, you still have past client list. All right. Don't forget about your past clients. This is a huge resource that needs to be utilized all the time. All right. So I would be the first one to get on the phone so no one else is calling my client. Right. We have a thing in the mortgage business. If you're not talking to your clients, then, some other boys trying to talk to them. Right. So no one wants that. We like our clients to be with us, trust us, and obviously close with us. So this area will help you once again grow more business. Okay. If they don't understand what's going on in the market and you have that knowledge, it's our responsibility as ambassadors, right, to make sure that we're sharing and educating that and getting that information out. All right. So um let me see here. All right, that's really about all I really want to talk about. Interest rates, just know that they're coming down still. Um, and hopefully, they go ahead and they drop them, 1%, 1.5%, whatever. Hopefully they give us. But super exciting, right? Because that's what drives our market. Let's talk about the wins of the week right quick. So this was a verified approval. So verified approval. Remember, we moved our underwriting up in the process instead of having it toward the end. We moved it to the very beginning in the whole very beginning pre-approval process. So now, as long as we have all the documents, we can submit that file into the underwriter for them to underwrite our buyer, right? So what that does, it allows us to know that they're going to be approved for one. So we have confidence when we're making offers on their behalf. And two, it allows us to close that loan a lot faster. Okay. Mind you, if we already have the buyer approved, we really just need a clean title and an as is appraisal, and we can close. So these loans are closing, not in 20 to 30 days, they're closing in 15 and 20 days. So a big difference. Okay. That's a lot of days cutting off the process here. All right. And that's huge. So back to the win. So this particular client had a verified approval letter. Okay. So going in, we were super confident that we were going to be the best offer on the table. I reached out to the listing agent, had a nice conversation with her, explained our current situation should be pretty much based or better than anyone else that she's going to be getting offers from. We went through the information. She was very impressed. One, that I was calling her to let her understand a little more about our buyer and our scenario and how quickly we can close. Just so happened the seller is looking for a quick close, um, you know, closing at the end of the month. So pretty short closing. But once again, our client's already been approved. So no big deal. The appraisal was ordered, the inspections were ordered, we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. But listen to this. So this is a conventional program. He was buying a house at 327. I locked it in at a 6.125%. And at that point in time, it was costing $3,750, right? 1%. Call that a discount point. All right. Um, so as I'm working to get his file submitted, I saw an email that came over saying that we're now on one of our first time homebuyer programs. It's kind of allowing double dipping. Double dipping as you get all the risk loan adjustments removed from that program. And now you also get the 1 free temporary buy down, which is huge, right? So here I am locking him in at 6.125 on just a regular conventional program. When I received that email, I jumped in his file and pulled up that particular program, all right, when I did that, that 6.125 went from costing 0.375 to costing zero. And with the free 1.0 buy down, temporary buy down that we're doing as a company across the board, um, he's truly going to get a 5.125% for the first 12 payments. That's huge. And when I let him know last night, I told him, I said, "Hey, I said, I did something, and you'll see here soon enough, but hopefully you're going to be happy." So I kind of left it on, left it be, and went on about my day because I had, other files I needed to look at and get taken care of. And sure enough, later last night, when he realized it, he sent me a text and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing." He couldn't believe it himself. And mind you, this client has already been impressed with the way that we're working with them and handling their file. And so he's already referred us over to clients. And he was like, "I've just become your new spokesperson. Every person that I know that needs to buy a house or refinance, they're getting your phone number." So, it's just exciting to hear that, and to be able to deliver that news is pretty awesome. Um, let's see here. Okay, so here's one of the losses that I had for the week. This particular scenario, young couple, um, trying to figure their way out in life, right? Don't know a career path, trying to figure it out. However, employment dates are very important. Start dates and end dates are extremely important. Okay. In some scenarios, if there's a job gap and that job gap's longer than so many months, it's different per program. All right. So that creates another layer of guidelines that you now have to face. Okay. Because this client didn't give me precise employment dates, the gap never showed itself. So I had no idea. So that's one thing that I didn't know, that obviously, I mean, when a file goes into processing, these things get torn apart and put back together. All right. So everything's uncovered. And so when they're verifying these dates, they come to realize that there was a job gap. And then that created another layer of guidelines that I had to get past. Well, we could almost get past them until we found out that, yeah, she's, didn't have just five jobs over 24 months. She actually had like 15 jobs. So you can't leave these things out. Okay. You have to have these dates. You have to have this information, because if you don't, what's going to happen is we're going to send in a 4506 form, which is asking for your transcripts. So when we pull that, it shows that you had 15 jobs, you're only disclosing five. That's an issue. It's going to be an issue every single time. All right. When you have multiple jobs like that, it's hard to prove that your income is stable. Okay. And that's where that next line of guidelines was taking us. So it's hard to show stable income when you've gone from as high as $18 down to $14. Okay. Those things cause issues. And if we don't know these things up front, then, these clients end up getting under contract and these things happen. Now, mind you, she wasn't a verified approval letter. Okay. By the time I got their information, they were already making an offer. Okay. Didn't even have time for that. However, it was caught pretty quick once we got the right dates, right? Because that's one thing processing does. They'll call and they'll verify dates, employment dates, and then that's when it was uncovered. Okay. So we lost that one, but we made sure that we communicated everything with the client. Um, she understands what she needs to do to be able to show that she has stable income moving forward. She just needs a little more time in that particular job versus jumping into another job, right? Sometimes you just got to stay put and write it out, especially when you're about to, do something as big as buy, your first home. So all good stuff. All right, so let's talk about the opting your client out before they even start this process. Okay. So that's huge. Hi, Mary. How's Mary doing? Hi, Ashley. These two ladies do a lot of work. No doubt about that. Some great boss ladies right there. So let's dive into opting your clients out. So this is what's happening now. So mind you, Rocket pulls a soft credit report. Okay, we do that to be credit conscious, right? The last thing that we want to do is pull someone's credit when we're trying to get them to buy a home and help them do that, and then end up harming them. Okay, so in order to really prevent any issues with these credit bureaus. So what's happening is the credit bureaus are now selling our personal information. So when you apply for something, when your credit gets pulled, it's called a credit trigger, right? A trigger. So then at that point in time, your information is being sold to a group, I mean, a number of people. So no one wants 100 phone calls coming at them the next day after filling out a loan application. Okay. So us not knowing, this was about, 4 or 5 months ago, I should say, that this really started happening. So mind you, we pull soft credit reports. So it wasn't happening with the soft credit report. So as of this week, I pulled a soft credit report, and it wasn't probably 30 minutes after I did that, my clients started receiving phone calls, soliciting phone calls from what I call bottom feeders of the industry. I mean, if you got to go out there and you got to, buy credit trigger leads, it's pretty desperate. So, I apologize to her. She opted out right away, but I wanted to share that information with you. So I know that we're going to have that posted. So you can send all your clients to that link before they even start the process, right? Because once the credit's pulled, it's too late. All right. So we want to get ahead of that game. That's why I want to make sure that you ladies have that information, and you're sharing that with your clients. Okay. And it literally takes like 2 minutes to do. All right. If you haven't done it, I would strongly suggest it as well. I've done it. I've opted out for the 5 years. Pretty simple process. Like I said, only takes a couple minutes, but it will save you tons of headaches down the road. Okay. All right. Um, Trigger leads. Hate that. Hate when anyone sells my personal information to anybody. All right. Next thing on the agenda are programs that can solve your buyer's contingencies. All right. Maria, I know that you are a listing agent at times. Ashley, I know you're a listing agent as well, and a lot of you are. Um, when you're accepting offers, no one wants a contingency offer, right? It's like, oh, it's great, but there's a contingency. Something has to happen before they can close. Okay. I have programs that can eliminate those. All right. And we're going to talk about them right quick. Right. So we have the bridge loan. The bridge loan is perfect when you have a client who has equity already in their house. Um, they're getting ready to put the for sale sign up in the front yard with you, and they're ready to buy. Right. They find something that they want to buy right away. Well, they haven't sold their house yet, and they need that money in order to move to the new house. So that's where that bridge loan comes in. So we go in, we pull some cash out. The payment that they pay is an interest only payment. So it's obviously a lesser payment than what they would normally be paying. So they're able to move to the new house before selling the old house. Okay, that's huge. All right. In fact, um, we just took a house, Claudia Jenkins, right? Because some people will sell or put their house for sale. And then if they have a contingency offer that comes in that they accept, well, they'll keep that offer. But if something else comes by that doesn't have a contingency, they can accept that offer too. And in this scenario, that's exactly what happened. So we ended up taking the house from the original buyer who was on the house. And as we got into it, unfortunately, we found out that they didn't disclose that the property needed flood insurance. Okay. Sometimes that happens, right? You don't get to hear the full story about the property. So now she's looking for flood insurance. Flood insurance ended up being $5,000 for the year. That killed the deal because of the flood insurance being so expensive. So make sure that when we're looking at these properties, asking all the right questions, right? Making sure that we're covering those bases. I know sometimes being slower is a little faster in getting things done. And this is one of the things that I've added to my list of questions. Hey, have you verified with the seller there's no flood insurance, right? Because the seller knows because they're carrying it. If they've got to have flood insurance, they've got flood insurance. Okay, so these things need to be shared. All right. So like I said, we're going to give you that link so you can share that with all your clients and make sure they don't get caught up in all the soliciting stuff. Okay. All right. The contingency programs. Yeah. So that was the bridge loan. The next thing is, so this is like an iBuyer, right? So you just have someone else that's making an offer on the home. So in this case, the iBuyer will contact them, the client, in just a couple days. Within 24 hours. So within 24 hours, they'll contact them. They'll go through a list of questions with them. They're asking them how many upgrades have been done, what's the property look like, blah blah blah. Right. So they're getting all the details. Plus, they're going to do all their research, just like you boss ladies do when you're going to list a property. Right. You're figuring out all the comps, how much you can get it listed for. They're looking to see how much we can buy it for, right? They're looking for the best price they can. So at that point in time, they're going to receive an offer in just a few days. At that point in time, if they accept that offer, that loan can close in like 14 days. Okay. So at that point in time, they've got their money. They're off to the races to the new home. Okay. They can also, maybe they get an offer and they don't like the offer. Maybe the offer's a little low to them. Okay. They'll give you 150 days to sell the property for more. Okay. At the end of those 150 days, they're going to probably go right back to that same offer to you and say, hey, are you ready to settle yet? Okay. If so, either way, right? You can take their offer, or if you sell it for more, great. You got a buyer, right? In all these scenarios, you boss ladies get paid your negotiated commissions. Okay. Nothing in there changes. We all get paid all the same. Okay. So there's also scenarios where, let's say your client needs to sell, but they're not ready to buy. Okay, I see this a lot of times. They're not ready to buy because their credit has suffered while they were already in this house. Okay, so another great option is they can actually sell the property to the iBuyer, right? And then they can just simply lease the property back at a discounted rate. Okay, there's no leases to sign. It's a day-to-day thing. Um, you just got to give notice before you move out. Okay. But that solves a ton of issues, right? It solves the contingency issues. It can, it solves your seller's issues, right? Gets them up and moving or gets money in their pocket so then they can pay off debt. We can do a rapid rescore. We can get their credit scores back up to where they need to be. So then they're ready to purchase again. Okay. So these are all the little things that I kind of do on a daily basis that's going to help grow your business, right? And growing your business is closing more loans, getting more clients approved, right? These programs that we have, I mean, they're crushing it, crushing it. Who doesn't want a rate that's 1% lower than the market price? I do all day long. Are you kidding me? So another win, locked a rate this morning. Okay, I watch rates. I've got a pretty good gut feeling. I pay close attention to the markets. And so I've been floating stuff as they come in. Well, I got a closing. This particular purchase is closing on 9:30. Um, Rates have come down, went up a little bit like they normally do, come back down, and now we just came down again. And based off of me locking his rate just a few minutes ago, I had originally locked him at, or was going to lock him at 5.99%, and that was costing 1%. Okay. This morning, that same 5.99% was only costing 0.25. So I went ahead and lowered his rate to get the cost back up to where it originally was when I quoted him. And that took him down to a 5.75%. That's saving him over $200 a month. And it's the same cost. Okay. So that's huge. He's another happy client that's, ready to refer his family and his friends and his coworkers and everybody else that he can, think of that may be looking to purchase. So let's unpack your business. Let's find out exactly what you're needing, right? Where you need help in, where you can grow in, right? We've got builder contact stuff now, right? So if you're not currently working with a builder, contact me. Let's get you up and moving so you will be ready to approach a builder and start getting that business. Okay. So, another huge fact before I get off of here, that pre approval letter, bumping it to a verified approval letter is huge. I'm here to tell you, every person, every listing agent wants that buyer to be approved by the underwriter, not by the loan officer, by the underwriter. Okay, so that's huge. I've seen a big uptick in my business just based off of that. Okay, it's a great thing and provides tons of confidence. So think of me this weekend. I'll have my phone on all weekend for you. I have some state licensing, some continue ed stuff I'll be doing, but I will have my phone on the entire time. So this would be a great weekend to get some verified approval letters out there. Get me on the phone with the listing agent so we can let them know how strong our buyer is. And let's get some people under contract this weekend, huh? Okay. Yeah, Maria, I'd love to get that information out to you. Let's set up, and this is something too, as you hear things that I'm saying, and if they're interesting to you, then contact me. Let's schedule a time where we can, get on a Zoom meeting, spend about 30 minutes together. Doesn't have to be long, but let's just find out what you're currently doing and then how we can plug these programs in. Right? We've got some co-branded flyers that we can utilize. You can start marketing those at your open houses. We've got a bunch of things that we can add there. Um, I'm here to help. Any way I can help you, I'd love to help. So, Maria, I'll reach out. We'll get something set up and we'll go through all these programs here so you can determine which is going to be the best way and best program that you can utilize on a daily basis. Okay. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to put them in the comment screen here. Oh, I hear I'm receiving a phone call. There we go. Move that one to messages. All right. Any other questions? Um, One thing that we're going to talk about too are MSAs. I'm getting information on this information. These are marketing service agreements. Okay. This is where we kind of co-brand and market together as an office, as a team. And then at that point in time, based off of how much marketing and stuff that you're doing, Rocket would pay you a certain amount of dollars per month for, helping us spread our programs and us out there. All right. So that's coming up. That's huge. I know that we already have some in place, and we're a little behind where we want to be on those. So it's time to start talking about MSAs and seeing if we can't get some brokers signed up and start doing some business together. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Ashley was asking what the rates are today. It's a great question. So we have posted rates, and I'll pull those up here just so you can see. They're different for every program. And keep in mind that there's a lot that goes into an interest rate, like 7 different things that will determine the rate that you actually receive. But for example, in this scenario, um, on a straight conventional, 6.5%, our one plus 6.5%, um, our FHA 5.99%. Remember, we're now doing non-agency stuff, so that's a rate of 6.875. That's everything that doesn't fit Fannie or Freddie. This is one I love. Who loves jumbos? By gosh, I do. And Stephanie, here you go. 6.25 jumbo, zero cost. That's pretty sinking low. I mean, in fact, that's better pricing than our straight 30-year conventional. Now, mind you, those jumbo programs and those non-agency stuff, we offer interest only payments on those. We even have terms up to 40 years on those things. Okay. So whatever we need to do to help get that buyer in there would be great. We're here to help. All right. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I wish everyone best weekend. And let's get some verified approval letters out there. And let's get some clients under contract. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care.